Ryan, you're good to go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And Summer, thank you for entertaining us there at the very beginning. So I'm excited to introduce College Finance Essentials to everyone. I was the primary writer for this. I had lots of help in certain areas, but it was a lot of fun being involved in this. I'd like to pull up the chat for a moment, if I can get it back up on my screen here. I'm curious why you chose to register for this webinar. So I'm going to give you a moment to just type in what is it you were hoping to gain, or why are you interested in College Finance Essentials? We need to educate people when they're young. Absolutely, thank you. Important topic, sure. College debt, yes. Getting out of control. Okay, well, lots of things popping in here. College advisor, I work specifically with low income high school and college students. Yes, TRIO, that's a group I work with a lot as well. Peer mentor training resources, excellent. Support youth financial literacy, core mission of our center, great. Coupon code, there you go. Expanding knowledge for client, want to be able to assist students, counsel young clients to gain knowledge. I won't read through all of these, I'll skip ahead a little bit. Want to see how much you know about college financing and financial aid. Financial literacy programs to see if I can position myself to assist families in college planning. Great, there's some great reasons for being on here. Read one or two more. I counsel families, population to have young spouses in college or looking how to finance college. Help students start good habits as early as possible. Excellent. Well, it's great to see what your reasons are. And just as a reminder, you are welcome. I won't be monitoring the chat, but Summer will. So if you have questions or comments as we go throughout, Summer can certainly step in and bring up some additional things, or she can bring those up to me. So again, I won't be monitoring that, but Summer will. So feel free to put anything you want. Yeah, granddaughter nearing college admission, that's a big one for a lot of people. Great. All right, so let's just jump right into the course then. So this is College Finance Essentials. So it is an essentials course, and I'll just read what it says here at the bottom. It's a professional development course that covers all aspects of college finance. So we include everything from starting out very young, how do you save for college? How do you choose the right school? How do you choose the right major? What are the tax benefits of higher education? How do you apply for college? How do you pay back student loans? Or how do you apply for student loans? How do you pay back student loans? And then we get into quite a bit about preparing for a career as well. So lots of information out there about college finances, and we tried to collect the most essential information that we could gather so that it was all together here in this one course. So what we'll do now is walk through kind of the basics of all of the essentials courses. So you can see how they're built similar, and then we'll get into college finance essentials after that. So the idea behind all of the essentials courses is that we want to help you to develop specialized skills and knowledge. So basically the idea is that you can build your capacity in that certain area. So obviously this one is focused on college finance essentials. Money management essentials is focused obviously on the basics of money management. So the idea is that you can take these courses, you can get not certified, that's the wrong word, but you can get specialized knowledge in that area. They are online and they are self-paced, so everything's available when you log in. You've got access to all of the modules. And the idea is that it should take you somewhere between 10 to 12 hours to complete. Obviously, if you're a fast reader, you might go through a little bit faster, but you can also take more time. But most people average somewhere between 10 to 12 hours to complete. There's always going to be some reading to do. There's activities that you'll participate in to help develop the knowledge and actually cement it in. There's discussions, there's resources, lots of things like that in place. So here are the the three that are here now, and military essentials is coming very soon. So I've mentioned money management essentials already. There's also financial inclusion for those working with those with disabilities, or just general inclusion is included as part of that one. And then college finance, obviously we'll go through today. Military essentials gets into all of the details about finances within the military. And there's other courses that will be coming in the next, I'd say 6 months, a year, somewhere in that range. There's additional essentials courses coming. So who is this course meant for? Well, a couple groups that, I mean, really anybody who works with college-bound individuals, but it can also be for financial professionals, so financial planners, financial counselors, financial coaches, anybody who works with that population. It could be maybe you work with people with student loans, maybe you help people who are getting into college, lots of different opportunities there. Also, guidance counselors may be a good audience for this as well, like a high school guidance counselor who is again working with those in high school who are getting ready to head to college. Parents, certainly, or grandparents. Somebody mentioned that their granddaughter is going to be going to college soon. And then just again, anyone working with those college-bound individuals. So the idea again behind the course is that we want to help parents and students navigate, or you help parents and students navigate the college decision process. So we're here, the Essentials course is here to provide you with that knowledge that you're going to need to help those parents and those students navigate that college decision process. And it's such an important decision. You know, that's one of the things that choosing the right college and getting involved in college early on is so critical for you to get involved in, so that you can make sure that you're choosing the right school, you're talking about majors, you're talking about how to get the right kind of financial aid. So all of that is covered as part of the College Financial Essentials course. So we want to increase your confidence in your recommendations, because I know that I work with a lot of financial planners and counselors who they just say, I have no idea what to do when I see a student loan come up, or I have no idea if I've got somebody who's heading off to college and I've got my own experience in college, but I just don't really have any specialized knowledge about how to help them to choose. So again, the Essentials here, we're here to provide that information for you. All right, next we're going to go through all the various modules that are available so you can see the totality of the content. What I've done here is I put this together so that I've got the major topic, and then I've selected a few things that are underneath that. So we won't go through every single one of the minor portions, like the smaller portions within those modules, but we'll certainly go through and talk about the idea behind all of them. All right, so we've got the financial and the career benefits of college. Included in that are selecting the right major, internships, lots of other information as well, but those are just, again, a couple of selected topics. Next, we've got selecting a school. So how do you search for and how do you select an individual school that you're looking at? What are community college benefits and drawbacks? We talk a lot about the differences between 2- and 4-year schools and private schools versus public schools, all of these various aspects of the costs and what are some of the benefits to going to each of those, what are some of the drawbacks, and obviously we can't generalize across every single community college, but there's trends that are similar across many of those. Okay, next we get into cost of attendance. So this is the big question of, well, how much is this school actually going to cost me? So we talk about, where does all that money that you send go to? So it's not just tuition, but there's fees and there's housing and there's all these other things involved in the cost of attendance. Books, is a huge portion for a lot of students. So we get into where does the money actually go while you're in school. We talk about the financial benefits of graduating in 4 years, and we'll actually do a little activity with that here in just a little bit. We talk about, how do you actually save and pay for college? So what about working? We talk about the benefits of at least working part-time for most students. We talk a lot about scholarships. We talk about reducing college costs. What are some of the things that you can do even in high school, like AP tests or concurrent enrollment? That's all covered in here. Next, we get into the FAFSA. So all the loans, the grants, the work studies, all of that is included as part of this. So how do we actually calculate the federal student aid that somebody is going to be eligible for? We get into Pell Grants. Who qualifies for Pell Grants? How much might they get in Pell Grants? What can you utilize that money for? We get into a lot about student loans. I mentioned that previously, that student loans is one of those important topics that you need to understand well, and that how a lot of advisors, when they see student loans, they, in a lot of cases, they just ignore them and they just say, well, just keep paying them back. And that may not be the best thing for that client. So we'll talk about what student loans are. We'll talk about loan limits. So how much can a student get each year of school? Direct loans versus private loans and other loans that are out there. So we'll talk about that in the course. How do you get those student loans? So we'll go through entrance and exit counseling and what that process looks like for students. We'll talk about financial aid scams. This is an important one for you to understand, is what are some scams that are out there when it comes to student loans? Because unfortunately, anytime government money is involved, or anytime there's a large sum of money involved, there's somebody who is, or multiple people that have created some sort of scam to try to get some of that money from you. So we'll talk about what to look out for when it comes to financial aid scams specifically. We'll next look at repayment plans. So we'll look at all of the standard and extended repayment plans. We'll look at the income-driven repayment plans as well. That's a big topic for people, is to understand all of these ones like pay-as-you-earn and income, all of those income-driven ones, revised pay-as-you-earn. All of those are included as part of the income-driven repayment plan so that you can really understand those better. Couple more. So we've got student loan prepayment, consolidation, and refinancing. So again, you can see that student loans is a big portion of this, but it's not everything. And then how do you avoid delinquency and default on those student loans when you're going to start paying those back? We'll also talk about, this is a big topic right now, student loan forgiveness, the whole idea of public service loan forgiveness, teacher loan forgiveness. There's all of the forgiveness programs that we could gather, the federal ones that obviously can't cover individual state ones, but all of the federal ones are covered as part of this course. We'll also do an introduction to the education tax benefits. Unless you're a CPA or a tax attorney or something like that, obviously you can't consult directly on tax benefits, but you can educate people. So we'll talk about, what does dependency status mean? What are the IRS resources that are available? We'll then talk about the specific tax credits, so the American Opportunity Tax Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit. And then we'll talk about any additional ones, so the student loan interest deduction, and then what does it mean if you've got a grant, a scholarship, or a tuition reduction? What does that mean for your taxes? Finally, we'll get into surviving college. So what are some of the support and resources that are available? So we'll talk about food insecurity, housing insecurity, just some of the stressful things that students deal with on a regular basis, so that you've got at least some resources that you could refer people over to if you found out that somebody was food insecure, which means that they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And then housing insecurity means that they don't necessarily have a place to live. We'll then talk about preparing for life after college. So we'll talk in the course talks about finding a job after graduation, and then what is the importance of actually saving for the future and other goals after that.
Ryan, we do have a question.
Yes, please.
With the forgiveness programs, do we spend a lot of time discussing how few actually qualify? Or is the focus more on how somebody qualifies?
Mm-hmm. So we just touched briefly, because I'm public service loan forgiveness, for example, there were a lot of articles out about that, about how 97% of the people were being denied for that, which is true. They were being declined for it. So we will talk briefly about that, but the focus is on not why were they forgiven, but how can you get it? So that really is the focus. I can tell you briefly on public service loan forgiveness, a lot of people who applied for that didn't have the right type of loans, were not in the right repayment plan. In a lot of cases, they hadn't reached their 10 years, or they weren't working in public service at all. And they just said, hey, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and see if they'll forgive some. So there were a lot of circumstances around that. Some people that should have been forgiven were not, and they've tried to correct those errors. So the focus of the course is not what's happened in the past, but here's what needs to be done for you to get forgiveness for these types of loans. Summer, I saw other chat coming up. Anything else?
Thank you. No,
Yeah,
so far the rest of them where I was able to answer them are just, comments.
perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so how is the course actually set up? And I've got a couple of screenshots where you can see how the course is actually set up, but we'll just kind of run through the basics on the screen here. So you've got a pre and a post assessment. So you just want to know from the beginning, how much did you know about certain topics? And then we'll test you on not the same questions, but similar ones at the end to see, did you actually learn this material as you went through it? So you'll be tracking your learning. We've got a case study that goes through the entire course. So it's one family. We created a family, a fictional family. It's a parents with 2 kids. They start out young, and it just goes through their entire college finance story. So it's going to share, here's where they're at in this part of their journey, and now this one's is applying for school, and now this one's in graduate school. So we'll just go through all the various parts of this case study. So 15 parts total, and it was fun to create one family that we really just followed all the way through, so you're utilizing the same family throughout. Videos, there's a couple of videos as well, some how-to videos for various college finance tools. I'll show you an example of one of those, or I won't show you the video, but I'll walk through a similar video. We'll do the activity here on this webinar. There's also activities and discussions. So there's 10 activities where you actually go out and maybe you figure out the cost of college at a certain university, or you check on concurrent enrollment in your state or whatever. So there's these activities that really help you to not just read the information, but actually dig into it and figure it out for yourself or for your area. And then we've got lots of practical problems with real world application. Obviously, choosing a college, choosing a major, getting student loans, all of these things are, it's real world stuff that we're dealing with. So we want to make sure that you don't just have the knowledge, but we've added these problems in there so that you can actually go through and learn about these things through these activities and discussion questions.
Really quickly, we had a question. How does
Yeah.
this compare to your book?
Yeah, so those, well, I've written two, so I'm assuming that you mean the student loan planning one. So student loan planning is just about student loans, and that's it. I don't get into all of this other information. This is much deeper. So that, again, my student loan book deals with a very small portion of what's covered in here. So it's not anywhere near as in depth as this is.
Does the course go into discount rates, diversity scholarships, and other information that could help a student?
Yeah, so we talk about diversity and some of the things that are available for disabled students, for diverse students. Some of that is included in there. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, this is a really cool thing that I wasn't aware when I was writing the course that this was going to be available, but I think it's awesome. Anyone who signs up for the Essentials class, for College Finance Essentials, you actually get a free 1-year license to Edmit Plus, which is a $99 value. So Edmit is a tool that you can utilize to run a lot of various calculations. And I'm not going to go into details because we just did a webinar about Edmit. I would encourage you that if this is something you would like to learn a lot more about, there's a whole webinar available that Edmit did. I can't remember who the presenter was for that, but Edmit is just this great tool that you can utilize in your practice to be able to actually help your students. So again, included, absolutely free. It's a newer partnership. In fact, I remember talking to Rebecca probably a year and a half ago, and she's like, hey, I heard from these people, they're interested in partnering with us, and we ended up, so Rebecca and I looked into it and learned lots about Edmit. We felt like that they were a great company to partner with, and they wanted to partner with College Finance Essentials as well. So really awesome tool that you have access to just for signing up for College Finance Essentials.
And just so you guys know, Seth with Edmit is actually on this webinar. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat and he can answer them.
Perfect. Okay, this is how what the layout of College Finance Essentials looks like. This is one of the modules. So you've got, if you look over the screen here, you've got module 1, financial and career benefits of college. Talks about what the prerequisites are. So you've got to take the pre-assessment before you can do this. And then as you go through each of these modules, they're actually checked off so that you can see that everything is done before you can move on to module 2. You've got to complete everything in module 1. So you can see we've got an introduction. We go into the impact of college, the importance of selecting the right major, internships, considerations for students with disabilities, resources for students with disabilities. We get into we do a conclusion, then we get into the case study. I mentioned that we utilize the same family throughout. So module 1 is going to introduce that family and talk about, it's going to tie in the things that you've learned into this module. And then there's a 5-point quiz that you do. So you'll take a quiz for each unit, each module before you move on to the next one.
Really quickly, does this course help parents know how to structure their finances to best qualify for the FAFSA? So maybe qualify for benefits with the FAFSA?
Yep, it does, yes. So when we get into the FAFSA, it talks about that specifically. So what does it mean if you've got savings versus your child? What about a 529 plan? What about these various other ways to save for college? So yes, we do talk about that. Obviously, you know, it's general information, so we can't get into how to structure yours specifically, but it's the general information about here's how this impacts your financial aid packet. So what about being an independent student? What does that mean? So all of that is covered as part of the course, yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, let's do one, or here's some sample content. So this is from module 3, so 3.5, so financial benefits of graduating in 4 years. Let me just read this scenario to you. So only about 19% of college students graduate in 4 years, but the benefits of finishing in 4 years adds up quickly. Consider 3 fictional students, Alex, Bailey, and Carl. All of them pay $8,000 the first year for tuition with a 5% increase each year. They have the same major, same job, and same salary, also with a 5% increase each year. Alex finishes in 4 years, Bailey in 5, and Carl in 6. Here are the economics for each student. So again, this is just some sample content, but you can see year 1, 2, and 3, they pay the same amount. So $8,000 for tuition, $8,400, and then $8,820. Let's focus on Alex for a moment. So year 4, actually, they pay the same through year 4, but then Alex graduates at that point. So he goes out and starts working, starts getting paid $40,000. Bailey takes an extra year, so pays an extra year of tuition, starts in year 6 with the same starting salary of $40,000. Carl pays another year of tuition at $10,210. While these 2 years that Carl is going to additional school, Alex has graduated and has been working. But we're just assuming that he hasn't picked up any promotions at that point, though he likely would be promoted quicker than the other 2, just because he has Alex has got additional work experience at that point. So in year 7, what does it look like? Well, Bailey's making $40,800. Alex is making $41,616, and Carl is now making his first $40,000. So total income after 7 years. So we just summed up the columns here, or not the columns, the rows. So what did it cost for them to go to school? How much have they made by the time year 7 rolls around? So Alex is at $87,935, Bailey's at $36,596, and Carl is still negative. So he's at negative $14,415. Now, obviously, we're not dealing with taxes or anything else at that point. This is just strictly, you know, this is some of the benefits of graduating in 4 years and finishing up school as quickly as possible. So it says Alex is more than $100,000 ahead of Carl simply by completing school in 4 years instead of 6. To graduate in 4 years or less, a student needs a plan. Considerations for the plan should include taking 15 to 18 credits per semester, taking summer classes, which are generally less expensive, coordinating general education credits with their major, sticking with a major, using academic advising, and making education their top priority. But this is the type of thing that as a parent or a grandparent or a college finance counselor or somebody who works with those who have got kids that are going to be going to college, this is stuff that you should be walking through with them and helping them to understand that if they can make a plan and get through school in 4 years, they're going to be much better off financially. Now, of course, sometimes students get to year 4 of school and they realize that they really want to switch their major. There's something that they're really passionate about because of a different class that they took. So yes, of course, it's not the worst thing to take some additional time if it's really going to put you into the career that you want to get into. But if you can really focus and get college done as quickly as possible, then you're going to be able to get out into the workforce sooner and change that financial situation. So that's just some sample content. All right, let's do this one. So we're going to go into now a sample activity. So let's take a look at where we talk about all the various ways that you can finance college. And one of them is that you need to know what is the cost of college when you go to college. So we're going to utilize the University of Georgia's net price calculator. And this is the information that we're going to put in here. So yes, they plan to apply for federal aid. That's one of the tools so that you can see how much you would qualify for. This person is going to be 22 years old. They live in the state of Georgia. They are married. They do not support any children at this point. You've got 2 people in the household. Only one is going to be in college, and they make less than $30,000. Now you can just follow along on my screen if you want to, or if you want to pull it up on your own screen. Summer has put somebody says go dogs, there you go. So yeah, here we go. So Summer has put the link for this up on the page here, but again, I'll bring it up on my screen here so you can see it. All right, so here is the University of Georgia's net price calculator. So you can see Office of Student Financial Aid, University of Georgia. You can read through this information if you want to. We're not going to. We're just going to skip ahead there. So again, yes, this person plans to apply for financial aid. You can see up at the top where we're at in the process. We said that they are 22 years old. They are eligible for in-state tuition because they live in the state of Georgia. Are they married? We're going to say that they are married, but they do not support any children. How many people are in your family's household? So we've got 2. Of the number in your family above, how many will be in college next year? That's going to be 1, because it says count yourself and your spouse if applicable. What is your annual household income after taxes? They make less than $30,000. Just reviews all the information. Make sure you've got it all correct. You hit continue, and it brings you to this page. So estimated total cost of attendance for that year, $26,404. And then it breaks it down from there. Estimated tuition and fees is $11,000 of that. Estimated room and board charges is $10,060. So that includes all rooming, accommodation, and meals. Estimated cost of books and supplies, $986. Estimated other expenses like personal expenses, etc., $3540. But then here is where it starts to break down. What is it actually going to cost you? Because here's your total grant aid. So this includes both merit and need-based grant and scholarship aid from federal, state, or local governments or the institution. So they estimate that a person in this situation, married, making less than $30,000 when going to college, that they're going to get approximately $15,472 in grant aid of some kind. So this is not student loans that they're eligible for. This is just grant aid that this person is going to be eligible for. So they're estimating that this person is going to pay, after all of these grants and scholarships are rolled in, $10,932. So again, it talks about some additional things that you need to know for this specific college. You can start back over and run through different scenarios. So we walk through a few scenarios, and we actually have you go out and calculate what the net price is going to be for you at that university. So every college publishes the cost of attendance, but the net price calculator, we talk about how this one gets into much more detail and really helps you to dig down closer into what is a student in my situation, what does it look like for them to go to school. So again, this person would qualify for over $15,000 worth of grant aid at the University of Georgia. Summer, I saw a few chat come up during that. Were there
admit questions? Although somebody's very excited about Georgia's option.
Absolutely.
And then Adam is asking, is there a site that aggregates information for all schools so you can toggle between them? I feel like that's something Edmit could do for you. Seth, can you speak to that?
Yeah, we'll let Seth, if you want to unmute. I don't know if you
Seth
can.
should
You're
be able to unmute. While he's working that out. Can we get a copy of this presentation? I don't see why not. Uh, so yes, we could send out a copy along with the link to the recording in case anybody wants to rewatch the recording.
Give a moment for Sept to unmute. If not, then maybe he can answer some things in chat.
And he's been answering some questions in chat. So Seth,
Okay.
if you see a break and you want to unmute, that is great. Here's a question that I don't know the answer to or even what all the words mean, but does the program go into using IPEDS data?
No, I'm not quite sure what that means either. I'd have to look into that. It could just be a different word for something, but yeah, so if whoever asked that, if you could clarify what you mean by that. So, I mean, it's not something we get into directly, obviously, but.
So thank you. I think you're good to go.
Okay, I was just wondering if Seth was going to jump on. I don't want to move on if he's got.
I think at this point we'll let him move on if he does. Oh, but IPEDS is the Department of Education site for data.
Oh, okay,
College
okay.
Navigator uses it.
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, when it comes to student loans, for example, we talk about how to access your student loans through the National Student Loan Data System. But as far as if there's other federal information out there, it's just what is available to the general public. So if it's available just to financial aid counselors or something, so it's information that is available to you as a financial planner, a counselor, or a coach. I could do some more research on that, but as far as I know, it just talks. We do talk about the federal student loan data system and how to access your student loans through there, if that's what you mean. So I'm going to move on. If you've got additional questions about that, we can certainly discuss that. So, all right, we're going to do a second activity here, and this is where you're going to answer in the chat so that we can see what you think. So this is from Module 7. We're looking at a financial aid package here. So the student has received the following financial aid package. So this is what's available to them. $1,000 in merit-based scholarships, $2,000 in federal Pell Grants, $3,000 in direct subsidized loans, $5,000 in direct unsubsidized loans, $8,000 in Parent Plus loans available to the student's parents only, $10,000 from the student's bank if the student's parents will co-sign on the loan. So obviously at this point, we haven't gone through what all of these mean and what the various implications of all of them are, but let's just take a gamble here. So the student needs $10,000 to pay for school this year. What financial aid package would you recommend they accept? So this is again what they've been offered. Just based on your general knowledge of finances at this point and some information about student loans, what financial aid package would you accept if you were advising the student? So I'm going to open the chat back up here. All the free money and the subsidized loans, okay. Scholarships, grants, subsidized loans, work to pay the remaining, work study if available, institutional hire, okay. First three choices with a remainder from personal funds, okay. Accept all merit-based Pell sub-loans and use savings. Just the top four on the list could even reduce the unsubsidized a little bit, okay. First four, merit-based, Pell, direct subsidized, and four in direct unsubsidized, okay. Merit-based, Pell grants, subsidized loans. Great, everyone's getting a similar, yeah, you do, somebody points out you'd have to ask what their financial goals are. If it's to have the student graduate debt-free, a parent loan at higher interest might make sense. But in general, I'd say the merit aid and the student federal loans up to the amount needed, okay? Excellent. So yeah, I mean, basically every situation is going to be a little bit different. As a few people have mentioned, that you've got to make sure that you're focused on what that student's trying to achieve. But yes, you would accept the merit-based scholarship, right? A scholarship is money that you don't have to pay back. So we've got $1,000 right there. Federal Pell Grants, same thing. This is money that the student is eligible for. They are not going to have to pay that money back. And so it makes sense for them to accept that. So at this point, they've got $3,000 in scholarships and grants that do not have to be paid back. if they need the full 10,000, so we'll assume that they don't have any savings or other things available, then in general, you would take the subsidized loans next. So that you take the full $3,000 in direct subsidized loans, because those do not accrue interest while you're going to school. So now we're up to 6,000 direct unsubsidized loans, so that the student has up to 5,000 available. If they really only need $10,000, then they would accept another 4,000 from that. But you would advise them, obviously, that these loans are going to accrue interest while they're going to school. So if they can work and pay off the interest while they're going to school, then they'll graduate with just the $4,000 and not $4,000 plus all the interest. But these are all things that, again, you've got to understand what are the various nuances of all of these types of loans and grants available. Somebody mentioned taking out the Parent Plus loans. I would be very cautious with that because they are much, much higher interest. And we'll get into how do you find out what not on this webinar, but in the course, how do you actually get into to figure out what the interest rates are for all the various types of loans, but understanding the various things that are out there so that you can advise people. That's the idea behind this course. Okay, if I can, there we go. All right, just one quote here from somebody who's gone through. Brian Miller was one of the early ones who went through the course. He says, "I really enjoyed going through the course. I was surprised how much I'd forgotten about the complex world of college finance, so it was nice to refresh. I think the lessons were concise and the exercises helped cement the topics in my mind. I would have loved to have had this available before going through my undergrad experience." And you know, that's another audience that we didn't really address there at the beginning. Is we talked about parents and grandparents and advisors and all these other people, but a student themselves, somebody who is a senior in high school, this would be an excellent introduction to help them understand. This is what you're going to be looking at. This is what all the various financial aid packages look like. This is why you should try to graduate in 4 years. Here's some things that you need to understand about majors. Here's some resources if you're food insecure, if you're housing insecure. So this would be, if you've got a student that is going to be going to school soon, this could be a great opportunity for them to learn a lot about college finances. And then they'd also have access to that Edmit tool where they could really dig in and put some numbers in there and compare various schools and things that are available. So, all right, that brings us to the end of this webinar. I'm happy to answer additional questions, but I know Summer has also got is also going to have the discount code. So Summer, I will turn some time over to you while I'm reading through the last few points here.
Thank you. And I will say, Tanya's question, how long will you have access to the course, even if they finished? Once you sign up, you have access to the course for 18 months. Regardless of when you finish in that time, you still have access to the course. When you complete, you'll get a digital badge that can be used for verification that you've completed the course. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.